ऑन है ये।
A very good afternoon to one and all. Himani, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, sir. A very good afternoon to one and all on the behalf of Skuast and Team Just Agriculture. So I am your host for today's evening. My name is Dr. Ritika Singh. So first of all, I would cordially invite our very special guest of this evening, Dr. VPS Arora. Sir, you are yourself a very brilliant milestone. As I was going through your profile, I found you are an incredible person. The more I'll say about you will be less. So not taking much of the time, I would like to introduce our guest of the evening, Dr. VPS Arora. He is a major in agriculture economics and minor in economic theory, maths and stat from GB Pant University. Sir, you have been Vice Chancellor, Pro-Chancellor of many universities and have done incredible work. As I have said earlier, the more I'll say about you will be less. So not taking much of your time, I would like to invite you to please take up the podium and start with the today's presentation. Thank you, sir.
Okay, once again, good afternoon, everybody. And at the outset, let me congratulate Just Agriculture and the Agriculture University, which is being headed by one of my students, Sharma. The topic that has been chosen is going to benefit the young researchers, the researchers who want to earn name, those who are inclined that they are recognized in the profession, in the institution they are serving, as well as the domains. I'll be touching the important aspects of the writing skills. How, what, why, and how. That is what we mean by writing skills, why it is important to improve it, and how to do it. And as I mentioned, that this particular event is for early career researchers. Before I start the theme, let me introduce to you 3 C's of research. I divide the research into 3 C's: conceptualizing research, conducting research, and communicating research. Even though writing is important at all the 3, but main aspect of the writing skill for the young researchers comes in the 3rd C. That is communicating the research. Whatever you have done, how it is communicated. But even while conceptualizing the research, that is formulating the research proposal, reviewing the literature, finalizing the methodology, you require the writing skill, how to communicate. Similarly, in conducting research, while developing the or formulating the questionnaires. Because if they say some blunders in your questionnaires, naturally your findings will not be precise. So the writing skill is important at all the 3 C's of research: concept, conduct, and communication of the research. But as I mentioned that, I'll be concentrating mainly on the 3rd C of research. As I mentioned that while, say, conceptualizing, when we have to communicate our research proposal to the funding agency, to the sponsoring agency, the writing skill becomes very important. And for the young researcher, it is important to understand what are the steps which are required for formulating winning research proposal, and how the writing skill is important there. I'm not simply going to the steps, but wherever the writing skill is important. So while writing the title of the research project, grammatical accuracy, clarity of the statement, and keywords. We don't expect any researcher to commit any mistake while developing or formulating the research project, particularly the title. It should be very precise, it should be very attractive, and it should be free from any grammatical errors. There should be clarity, no ambiguity at all, and it must carry the keywords. And the second step, the clear statement about what you want to work, why it is important, interesting, relevant, and realistic. Friends, this statement of the research must highlight what are the research gaps which you intend to fill up through this research. How and what value your research is going to add to the subject or the knowledge. Are your research objectives achievable in time allocated and available? Sometimes people have over-ambitious objectives where they don't have the time available for that. Be realistic that if it is a 1-year project, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, your research objective should be achievable during that time available. So in that case, while drafting the statement, you should be very sure that you have highlighted the research gaps which you are going to fill in through research, what value it is going to add to the subject, and the objective that you have written, they are achievable. The next step or stage is you have to provide in your research proposal some background knowledge and the context, because other workers, other scientists might have worked on that. So you have to provide what knowledge already exists, what are the contextual, the problems that are there, why it is necessary to undertake this particular thing. So you have to link your work with that of others. You have to support your work with that of others, and you should relate the expertise that is available with you or your team. It may be a team project or it may be the individual project. So if you are not a man of, say, vegetable science, and you are developing a project of vegetable science, nobody will accept this project. So your expertise that you have or your team has should be relevant to the work. Next step is the methodology. So in that case, you must highlight in your proposal research methodology, what data you are going to use or generate, maybe You are using secondary data also. And what are the design that you have, which you must have studied in your statistics course. Some indications you have to provide in the timetable. Suppose it's a 5-year project. So in that case, you have to indicate what you will be doing in the first 6 months, second 6 months, third 6 months, and like that. So that stages you have to provide, and you have to provide the timetable. Better it is month-wise, if not quarter-wise. List of references that you have to provide, and there are very alternative, which I'll be discussing that. That also you have to provide while developing the proposal. So I come to the, say, communicating research, that third C. Disseminating the research outcome to the other researchers, in particular, and society in general, is the greatest challenge, and it should be done in a well-defined manner to serve the purpose. The dissemination can be in the form of report, research paper, research article, oral presentation, or thesis or dissertation. The thesis component I have included in my presentation, because when it is for the young scientists, so maybe your research is for getting the PhD or master's degree awarded, that is the thesis. Writing is a unique and intellectual challenge, because in that case, you have 5, 6, 7 researchers, and everybody is not having the same intellectual level or the uniqueness. So in that case, writing is always a unique and intellectual challenge. There is no mystery to become a good writer. Everybody has a potential to become a good writer. Similarly, there are no excuses why any intelligent person cannot write well. Because some people say that intelligent person, they can think well, they can plan well, but they can't write. No, that's not true. Good writers write well because they write often and they maintain self-discipline. Now, these keywords, remember, good writers write well because they write often. It should be that, it should be a practice like that. And they maintain self-discipline and always open to useful and constructive criticism. As good as writing skills, oral presentation is also a major task. Sorry. Say, if you are writing a paper, you write a thesis, you are writing a research report. Similarly, the oral presentation, that is also very, very important. Because in that case, you are communicating your research findings. This also requires proper planning, organization, and experience. Now, I come to the research report generation. Before I come to the aspect of that, what type of reports are there, what are the research types of research and like that. Research report generation in general is an essential component of any research study. If report is poorly written, the time and energy spent on research activity would carry no result. Because in that case, how effectively you write, that's very important. Maybe you have done extensive, say, excellent research, but you have not written the report precisely. It's of no use. It should be understood that the report is written to be read and for an intended audience. Whenever you are writing a report, you should know who your audience is, for whom you are writing that report. Your readers in first case are you. Because the first reader for any report, any article, any presentation is you. Your guide, your team members, and evaluation committee. That is the first case. And they have the short-term value for this particular report. In second case, readers are your peer and juniors. That is, suppose you are a member of a department, so the departmental colleagues. The colleagues in other universities or other domains, they as well as your juniors, that is of greater value and possibility of extension of work. And in the best case, regarding audience of possibility, your report is of publishable quality. You know that all thesis research is not published. All research papers are not accepted for publication. So in that case, the third, which is of the greater value, is that your, say, report is of publishable quality. That is, it's readable and useful for the community in general. So remember that whenever you are writing, you must know who your audience are. Now, just a general outline for different type of research reports. For technical report, you have to have the different components of it: nature of study, methods used in the study, data that you used or generated, reporting the results and findings, conclusion, bibliography, appendices, and index. This is the outline for the technical report. Then for the popular report, actually that the article is published in the say newspapers and general such publications which are for the common use and not read by the technical persons. Their outlines are research findings and their implication. We start with that. Recommendations for actions, objectives, methods, results, and technical. The first two components are very, very important in this, and others are covered in one or two paragraphs like that. How the report is prepared. The report should be written in clear, concise, and well-structured manner. The essential stages of any report writing are given hereunder. Understanding the subject, prepare the outline, gather and organize the material, draft preparation. That is, first you understand the subject, then prepare the outline, collect the information, and then organize that material. Prepare the draft, review and revise the draft. Maybe that's why we say zero draft, first draft, second draft, and like that. And then after that, revise the draft and references to the report. And then you finally put the writing in the final draft. Now the research report, that when you have, whether it's the research product funded by the World Bank or ICR or by other organizations or by the university, the content of it is the title page, table of content, list of tables and figures, abstract or executive summary. Then in the main body, introduction, methodology, results and discussion, and conclusion, that is the project outcome. And finally, references and appendices. Characteristics of a good report. The report should be factual, because whenever it's a research report, it can't be vague. It has to be factual. That is, we always say that whatever you have done, you are simply reporting it. So just remember that no ambiguity, only fact-based. Whatever observations you have made, it should be based on that. It should be written in simple, clear, and easily understandable language, but it is grammatically correct. Report nowadays, because when I say grammatical correct, nowadays that your computer help you giving the alternative. Whenever there is a mistake in the word or phrases, it highlights. Then it gives the options, choices. So you should be aware of which option is to be taken. Report is consistent to the objectives. Maybe you have only 2 objectives and you have the findings for 3 or 4 objectives. Confined to only what was stipulated. Note everything that you have done. And it is whatever text you write, it should be well supported by graphs and pictorial presentation. Report is well organized and follow logical sequence. It should not happen that if you have 5 objectives, you are jumping from one to another objective like that. It should be logically arranged. Research methodology should be written in a clear and concise manner. The report should be result focused. The analysis should answer the question, how far the project achieved the objectives. That's very important thing, that your objective must be answered, attained that. The report uses a minimum possible abbreviations. Some people have fashion of putting so many abbreviations. No, as less as minimum number as possible. Then it should be well supported with executive summary or abstract. Always remember that executive summary is different from summary or abstract. So in that case, whenever you are writing executive summary, you must highlight only the real outcomes. Just I'm sorry sometimes that this phone is an obstruction. So in that case, while writing executive summary, it should be very precise and should be real outcome. The protocol, questionnaires, case studies, they should be well supported. And future predictions or outcome is also to be predicted. Reporting research findings. The research section is where you report the findings of your study based upon the methodology. The result section should state the findings of the research arranged in a logical manner without bias or interpretation. Why I'm using the term bias? Because sometimes people are only giving in your reports only the positive findings. No. If there are negative findings, suppose in your plant protection, you are using a chemical and there are positive results, there are negative results. You must report both. And these should be well supported with the interpretation. A section describing results is particularly necessary if your study includes data generated. Analytical research reports, which are written after having gathered important information from primary research based, particularly in extension and agriculture economics, rather than published documents, present original data that you collected and analyzed. Reporting findings. How do we report the findings? The commonly used way of communicating and displaying findings are in terms of text, tables, and graphs. Because whenever you write a report, 3 things are important in that: text, tables, and graphs. Text should be clearly and simply present findings. Bulleted text, particularly in the oral presentation, can be used to give impact of 2 points. Writing should be thematic, literature should be properly cited, and layout should be pleasing to the eyes. It should not be cluttered like that. Tables are used if there are considerable amount of information that are difficult to be communicated through charts, graphs, and figures. Remember that there is a difference between tables and charts and graphs. Tables are used only when your informations are not captured well through graphs and charts. Tables are constructed as per the standard guidelines. In statistics, these are given. What are that? Graphs presentation make findings easier to understand and effective to communicate. You have bar charts, pie chart, flow diagram, XY area chart, and like that. Importance of good result section. Remember that findings can only confirm or reject the hypothesis. Because in research methodology, you must have understood that hypothesis these are the tentative findings. These are ought to be accepted or rejected. So the results reveal whether the hypotheses are to be rejected or these are to be confirmed. The page length of this section is set by the amount and types of data that you have. Avoid providing data that is not critical to answering the research question. Remember, I repeat, and I'll be repeating again and again, that whatever you intended, what are your objectives, confine to that only. No more, no less. That in results, that's very important. Structure and writing style. The organization and approach. I'll be writing when you are writing, what are the structures and writing style? For most research report formats in the social and behavioral sciences, there are two possible ways of presenting and organizing the results. You might have seen number of say theses or the articles like that, where you say you have a synopsis of the results followed by explanation. What we say, results and discussion, findings and discussion. That's one style. Other style is that findings are given where results along with the discussion is provided. So these are the two major styles that we have, and better you choose your own or choose the one which is commonly used in your domain. That's there. Just as the literature review should be arranged under conceptual category rather than systematically describing each source. Because suppose you are having a research discussion, say literature review. So in that case, you have the issues and the entire literature reviewed is arranged according to that. Content. An introductory context or understanding the results by restating the research problem underpinning your study. Inclusion of non-textual element, which is very important. That is figures, chart, photographs, maps, tables, etc. Because they add value to this. They add interest in that. A systematic description of your results, highlighting for the reader observations that are most relevant to the topic under investigation. The page length of your results section should be guided by the amount and type of data. A short paragraph that concludes the result section is synthesizing the key findings of it. Let me tell you that whenever you are writing a section or a subsection, towards the end, maybe in say couple of sentences or one paragraph, depending on the size of that particular section, you must summarize what have been written in the foregoing section. Use the past tense when referring to your results. Reference to findings should always be described as having already happened because the method of gathering data has been completed. Some people write present tense, but the standard one is the past tense that we should use. Problems to be avoided. Avoid discussing or interpreting your results in both sections. Some people, while the style is results and discussion, they interpret the data or the observation in both sections, results as well as discussion. That should be avoided. Only interpretation in discussion. Avoid repeating background information and explaining all your findings. That's everywhere you write the objectives, the issues, like that. No, that should not be done. Avoid including raw data or intermediate calculation in the main text. Let's say you have a lot of data that you have gathered, that's what we call raw data, or then you made preliminary calculations. They should not be form of the part of the main results. They should, if at all important, they may be given in the appendices like that. Be as factual and concise as possible in reporting your findings. Don't use phrases that are vague or non-specific, such as appear to be greater or lesser than. What do you mean appear to be? Because you are doing research, be sure, be precise. You can't be vague, you can't be non-specific. You have to say, yes, the height of the plant is greater than that of the earlier variety, like that. So demonstrate, then demonstrate promising trait. What do we mean by promising? It may be promising to one scientist, may not be promising to other scientists. So be factual, be concise. Presenting the same data or repeating the same information more than once, sometimes necessary, not always. Confusing figures with tables. No table should have any confusing figures. Sometimes people don't indicate the table, say unit, whether it is per hectare, per acre, per say, or per biga or what. So you have to be very precise. Thousands, hundreds, or what. So you have to be very factual. So you have to label your, say, known, say, textual things very precisely. Nowadays, the digital techniques are also being used for preparing the reports, which save your time, but obviously it is at the cost of your creativity and critical thinking. I am from the note that school of thoughts, which recommends that digital techniques should be relied more than a bare minimum. Important tips for writing that, how to improve that. Use text and visual aids properly. Because what is to be written in the text and what is to be written in the visual aids, that should be there. You are expected to present the data in words with the help of tables, charts, and graphs, so that your data clear and easy to understand. However, you should remember that you write a report. You don't draw a report. That is, you are writing. People write in that, we are drawing it. No, you are writing a report. The text is primary. The graphics support the text. Tables support the text. So that should be remembered always. That text is very lucid, it's very interesting, very clear, very precise. And then graphs and other tables should be simple finding usually don't need a visual aid, usually. I have seen number of such findings where the tables are given or graphs are given. Suppose out of 100 respondents, 80 says yes, 20 says no. They're putting a table for that. No, you simply write in one sentence, 80% of the respondents, they are not in agreement with this particular policy of the government, like that. Or 70% of the people appreciate a particular policy that you name. So complex findings require the tables and graphs. You need to report your findings without any biased comments or slant. You have to give the factual things. Say, for example, let me just give that illustration. The survey shows that overwhelming percentage of the respondents, that is 83%, feel that punishing cyber bullies is not necessary, a disappointing finding. Now see, overwhelming. 83% may not be overwhelming for others. Whether it's a disappointing or no. These are the things to be avoided. You simply say that 80% feels like that. 17% feel like that. Don't add your biasness in that. Use headings and subheadings. Because that makes your report or article attractive. You have the say headings as well as subheading. Say for example, you have results and discussion. That is the main heading. And subheadings, there are different sections or subsections of that. Maybe you have further subsection, say 2.2.1, 2.2.2 and like that. Now you have two types of headings or subheadings. Very, very important for you. There are talking headings and topic headings. Say, for example, results and discussion. They say topic headings. It's not talking. It simply says it contains results and discussion. When you say inconvenient location of recycling bins, that is one subsection or subheading. This is a talking. It conveys that we are talking about the inconvenient location or inadequate encouragement to recycle or ways to improve recycling. Reasons for not, that is, this particular heading conveys what is being done or what is to be reported in that. Frequency of recycling. In this particular heading, we are going to discuss the frequency of that. So that is how the talking and topic headings you have to keep in mind and keep your headings parallel. Number your sections consistently. You have alphanumeric system. You have decimal system. Alphanumeric, that is A, results and discussion. Then first, second, and like that. You have that type of, and then you have the decimal type 2, 2.1, 2.2.1, and like that. So this is how it may be done. Use of language and reporting. That's very, very important. I give the example of appropriate and inappropriate. For example, from the survey, 40% of the respondents feel, whether they feel bad or good or like that, this is inappropriate. Appropriate, the survey shows, because it's not from survey that respondents are saying. Respondents are being surveyed. The survey shows that 40% of the respondents feel. Another, from the study, not many people, or from interviews with the students, they don't benefit from. These are the inappropriate reporting. A right way is the study tells us that not many people are benefited from this particular scheme or particular technology. From interviews with the students, it can be seen that it has been found, or it has been found that they don't benefit from the scholarship awarded by a particular agency like that. So this is how appropriate and inappropriate, this is how it should be done. Interpreting information. The report, when you are prepared, the results, thereafter the interpretation is also come. Reporting data involves more than just presenting it. Often you need to interpret or analyze the data, that is to say what it means, especially in relation to your research question. For example, your research objective was to determine how successful the community centers are in attracting young people. You would have to present that. That is, suppose your study is on extension, and there the community centers that have been set up by the government in a particular state, that's whether they are successful or not. So in that case, your findings that you get, how successful are government efforts in promoting the community center to young people. A complete reporting could look like this. A large proportion of the respondents, 74%, reported that the programs organized in community centers don't meet their needs, mainly because the programs are not attractive enough. So this is the results of finding. This does not augur well for government effort to promote community centers as a focal point for young. This is the interpretation. Say the first part is the results, which is coming from your, say, observations and that. survey that you have conducted. That is 74% feel that these community center don't meet their needs, mainly because the programs are not attractive. That they have given the reasons also. Now the interpretation is that government efforts to promote community centers as a focal point to young people does not augur well. This is how it is to be done. So you have to differentiate between the results and interpretation. Interpretation is the revealing from that, implying from that. So it gives that description. Let me give another thing, that reporting and interpretation example. They are very important for the young or the, say, early career researcher. Suppose only 26% Indian reported knowing how to perform emergency procedures like mouth to mouth. This, say, suppose somebody has a heart attack and the mouth to mouth, that say respiration is provided. So only 26% reportedly knowing that. That's the report or finding. This finding shows how unprepared Indians are in emergencies and illustrates that perhaps efforts to provide emergency training for Indian need to be stepped up. That is the interpretation. We say that 26%, because in that case, the majority of Indians, they are unprepared for it. So obviously the effort should be there to provide the emergency training for that. Similarly, suppose a particular bus goes to a particular area like that, majority of the respondents, 75%, said that they had to wait for more than half an hour before being able to board bus service 151, just in the morning between 7 and 8:30. The finding indicates that the frequency of the bus service 151 in the morning peak hours is inadequate, because they have to wait, say, more than half an hour like that. So in that case, you have to be very sure that your interpretation is precise. Writing research paper or article. Publishing research paper or article, besides enhancing the status and reputation, because whenever you are writing a research paper or article, it enhances your reputation of the academics, reputation of a society, reputation of your organization, like that. So in that case, you have to be very careful about that. They should not be plagiarism. So apply plagiarism check. Don't submit the article simultaneously to more than one journal. Some early researchers, they are not sure that whether the article will be accepted by a particular journal or not. They write that article, send it to more than one. This is unethical. This is incorrect. This should not be done. There is always a possibility of a rejection of your article from one journal when submitted for the first time. If it happens, evaluate the comments and then decide whether to revise, resubmit, or submit elsewhere. While resubmitting, take care of the issues raised in the review process and make the modification. The structure of the paper should be as per the guidelines of the journal concerned. Every journal has its guidelines, so you should follow that. Suggestive structure of this article. It may vary according to journals. You have a title as small, that is, title should contain fewest possible words that describe the content. It should be complete but shortest possible. Abstract is a one paragraph summary of research work reported in the paper. It may be informative or descriptive. Introduction, it should give importance of the subject and overview of the research report. It should also indicate research gaps covered, materials and methods. This section should provide the answers to research gaps have been obtained. That's how those research gaps have been filled. Results and discussion. These are the sections of that. This section, which is the main one, provides the findings of the research work reported along with the interpretation. Then summary and or conclusion. Some people give summary and conclusion separate, some combined. And that you should try to follow the style of that particular journal. One paragraph section gives brief summary and recommendation based on the findings. Remember that all your recommendations should be based on your findings, not the general one. References. This section cites all the references cited in the paper. There are three styles of references. Harvard referencing. Actually, you can just go through that. Say for books, it's different. For chapters, editing different. Journals different. Then you have Vancouver style of referencing. Then you have, say, American Psychological Association. So you have different styles that is there. In oral presentation, I'll briefly touch about that, because this is also very common nowadays, because whenever you are going, you have submitted an article, paper is accepted, and when you may be asked to make an oral presentation also. So oral presentation is created in the same manner as the report is there. So it should be there. But presentation skills include verbal, non-verbal, and listening. So it is the main thing that you have, because your audience is in front of you. You have to, suppose you have written an article and I am a reader of that. I may read it at my pace, but presentation should be at your pace, to the understanding of the, say, listeners, audience that is there. So that's the basic difference that you have. You have to finish everything in that, whereas in the article or the journal or report, the reader may take 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, or a month, like that. So focus of oral presentation should be on the following area. Audience perception. What is the audience? Suppose they are all these scientists there. So you should be according to that. And that how the presenter is there in terms of appearance, the posture, eye contact, hands, gesture. They are very, very important. Changing the pitch, giving emphasis on certain things. Audience comprehension, understanding the needs of audience, understanding of your own communication style, creating impressive opening, getting the audience attention and the flow. That is the important. And the audience interaction, it should not be one-way process. It should be interactive, and effective use of visuals and handouts should be there. Now, there are research on this. We can effectively recall 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we hear, and 70% of what we do. That is, your presentation should convey in terms of seeing, hearing, and interacting. There are three ways to express: vocal interest, 38%, body language, 55%. That's very, very important. How do you, say, interact or present with your audience? Verbal, 7%, which is wisely balanced, like that. For making the presentation, you can start with introduction or ice-breaking story. Suppose you are talking about the nutrition aspect. So you can just narrate the malnutrition, other things, or some stories you can just get, so that audience is attractive towards that. You can see the situation globally, nationally, or regionally. Maybe some headlines in the newspaper you have seen yesterday or today, so that you can use it as a starting point. That will attract the people's attention. Then you have middle or the body. The section shares that in that case, research, you have content, quantity, sequencing. That's very important. Now, it should not be just a one, as I told you, the one-way process. It should be there. And in between, you crack the jokes. In between, you show the gestures. In between, you can see the reaction of the audience or seek the reaction of the audience, like that. And then you conclude it, presentation, because unless you conclude and that, because that will be the impact on the audience. So that impact you should leave in that case. Important tips for preparation. No overcrowding of the slides. Keep 6 to 10 lines at the most in the slide. Use simple language, short and uncomplicated. Check grammar, spelling, and punctuation thoroughly. Choose proper font size and font color. Color for the text should be used wisely. Limit the colors to 2 to 3. It should not be cluttered with the colors. Recommended to use black for text, red for keywords, and blue for second leader. Always remember the red and green are the colors most frequently involved in case of color blindness. Try to include more graphics to enhance the understanding. Use of visual aids, that's very, very important. And in that case, the graphs, flow chart, they generate that interest. So in that case, you have to make this clear, supportive, and well labeled. Important points while making the presentation. Presenter should prepare well in advance about technical aspects. His presenter's dressing style, body language, facial expression, and confidence level help draw audience attention. Keep title slide for longer periods so that it is captured by the mind of the audience. Avoid being at one place. Rather, keep moving on the stage. Unlike that, what I am doing, I am at one place only. Don't read the slide word to word. Rather, give logical explanation. Use laser pointer to highlight important points. Keep presentation clear, dynamic, and maintain eye contact with the audience. I'm sorry, I can't make the eye contact like that. Keep watch on your speed of presentation. Keep the printout of the presentation, which gives you confidence. Be flexible to incorporate spontaneous changes. Don't apologize. Some people I have seen, they say one sentence, oh, I'm sorry for this. I apologize for this. That should not be done. Speak loudly and clearly. Use short and simple sentences. Avoid jargons and abbreviations. Vary pitch, tone, volume, speed, and pauses at the situation. Relax, be enthusiastic. During presentation, take a moment to yourself by getting a drink of water. Take a deep breath. Concentrate on relaxing the most tense part of the body, and then return to the presentation. Know that even the best presentation make mistake. The key is to continue after the mistake. Well, thesis research, I avoid here, except saying that this is very, say, formal presentation that is of the research, and because it is confined only to the people who are doing their PhD or masters. So in that case, the selection of topic is very important. It should answer who, what, when, why, where, and how of research. So that feasibility statement of the problem, following points are to be kept. Outline the general context of the problem, highlight key theories, like that. That review of literature, objectives, there should not be any ambiguity in that. Objective is the concise statement of the question that is to be tackled. It justifies that references. Hypothesis, in statistics you must have studied. This is the tentative or preliminary results that you have. Then you have the case studies, and these case studies are very helpful, make the things very interesting to any research report. Then abstract that you have should be concise, readable, and quantitative. So in that case, in abstract that you have, it should provide the answers to what did you do, why did you do it, what questions were you trying to answer, how did you do it, that's methods, what did you learn, and why does it matter. So that is the checklist with you when you are writing abstract, whether it answers all these questions, that will provide whether your abstract is correct or not. So the writing report that you have, the title page. In fact, this is again, the university provides the outline how that is to be done. Normally, the generally title page, declaration, certificate, acknowledgement, abstract, table of content, list of tables, graphs, maps, contents that is there, the acknowledgement, list of figures, research method, that's all that's there. But remember, this is what is to be provided by the organization. One word about recommendation. Recommendations should always flow from the findings. All the results that have been obtained, it should come from that only. And whether it's the article, whether the thesis, whether it's the research report, you should acknowledge all those who have contributed technically, intellectually, or financially. That's very, very important that you have. Don't forget, suppose you are in economics or extension, farmers have provided the observation, thank them also, acknowledge their efforts also. If some organization is giving you a grant, that provide that. So the acknowledgement is a very important section of any research report or any research writing that you have. References, avoid referencing textbooks. Say, for example, you have seen a particular finding in a book and you have quoting that. Don't do that. Go to the original research from where that book writer has taken and give the reference to that particular journal or article. Because the common mistake that we commit, that a finding of some researcher is given in a book and we are giving a reference to that book, that is an incorrect way, all of that. Be specific and referencing. Say, for example, don't write, researchers say A equals B, or scientists have long argued that A equals B. Instead, write, A is hypothesized to equal B. Within bracket, give the reference who has given it. Or in one hypothesis, A equals B. Give that within bracket, that quote, subquote, unquote. That's who are given that. Avoid acronyms to the extent possible. Use plain English, not jargons. Because some people are tempted to use jargons. This does not make the reading attractive. Let me tell you, some people say that I am very good in English and I'll be using jargon. Jargons are only for that leaders, for say journalists, not for the scientist. So in that case, confined to the technical terminology, simple language like that. So wherever possible, avoid using terminology that only an expert in the subject would understand. In fact, whether you are writing a thesis, whether you are writing a popular article, accordingly you change your language style. Be quantitative to the extent possible that you have. Not qualitative always. That depends on that. Suggestions that I make. Don't write, the data suggests that, or our results suggest that. No, data does not suggest anything. It is people that make suggestions based on the interpretation of the data. Use something like this. Our measurements are consistent with the hypothesis that, or based on measurements of A and B, I suggest, propose, argue that. Say we commit mistakes. Don't write, table 1 shows that polygon A is larger than polygon B. This is wrong. Write, polygon A is larger than polygon B within bracket table 1. That's the where from you are taking it. But better yet, the diameter of polygon A is 50% larger than that of polygon B, that's table 1. In this case, table 1 might show polygon A has a diameter 7.5 and polygon B 5.0 meter. When referring to the data, in a table or figure in the text, avoid repeating numbers already given in the tables. For example, the table gives the diameter object A 7.5 meter and diameter B 9. When noting these differences, you might state that A's diameter is 50% larger than B. Give the reader a roadmap. That's give what is contained in this particular section. Use passive voice sparingly. Otherwise, it should be active one. This is about thesis. Left margin 1.5 inch. That's again that organization. Appendix. It includes all data in the appendix, which is not easily available. Calculations are also given there. That raw data is also given in that. And the bibliography, if the researcher has consulted a large number of references, but don't cite all of them, that's the difference between bibliography and references like that. Thank you very much. That's all that I had to make presentation in that. If you have any question.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful time with you. I am sure that the discussion you made is surely helpful to our participants. So we have a few questions to ask from our participants. So with your due permission, shall I ask, sir?
Sure.
Yeah.
I try to finish in time. Otherwise, it's a very lengthy topic that you have.
Yes,
in 1
sir,
hour,
yes,
I have
sir.
finished it. You have provided me 4 to 5.
No,
But
sir.
I'll take up. I'll be happy to take the questions. Right.
Yes, sir. It's very well finished, sir. Very well justified, sir. So the first question is like how we can make our paper more impactful so that it has less chances of rejection.
First thing, that it's language, it's outline that is there. Because as I have given number of suggestions in that. So it should be factual. It should be free from jargons, and it should be relevant to that particular journals. Suppose we are writing an article, so it may be relevant to X journal or Y journal, say. So it should be relevant to that, and it should be very well written, and very well written, the guidelines that I have provided in my presentation, that's there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, the next question is, sir, how to stay motivated for getting our papers published in good journals if we get continuous rejection from the various journals?
My suggestion is that consult the people in your team whose paper are accepted in that. Maybe that you are frequently committing the same mistake. Maybe that you have submitted a paper, it got rejected. They have given certain suggestions, and you are not able to implement those. So in that case, those papers, those reviews are very important. If you are following those review tips, then you second time when you submit, it will be accepted. Moreover, after me, Dr. Anjani Kumar will be presenting. Dr. Anjani Kumar is a author of number of very good articles. So he will be giving more tips about that. So I'll leave this question to Dr. Anjani Kumar to take up this aspect. Yeah, he's already there. Nice seeing you. Yeah. Okay, continue. Another question.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, which review paper is, but in your opinion, sir, review paper is difficult to write or research paper is difficult to, like you can say, write?
Review paper is very difficult to write because you have to make it relevant.
Yeah, the story has
that is in your hand. Review means you have to collect all the reviews which are relevant to the theme that that is in mind, and that is going to publish a particular journal. So review article is not easy. It's very difficult in that case.
Yes, sir. So, sir, if any more questions are there, we will connect you through email, sir. So for the time being, yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time and efforts.
I give the audience liberty without asking my friend, my colleagues, Dr. Anjani Kumar, that they can put their questions to him also on my behalf also.
Yes,
like
sir.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Anjani,
so good afternoon, sir. Are you able to listen me?
Yeah, I am able to listen to you. It was after a long time that I have been.
Namaskar.
नमस्कार, आपको बहुत दिन बाद देखा है, वैसे तो बहुत देखते
जी,
रहते हैं मीडिया में, कभी आप पेपर प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, कभी अवार्ड ले रहे हैं, लाइक दैट. Congratulations for that. In fact,
thank you. Thank you.
say last month I had a major surgery, so their last event I could not be there. So I'm just sitting here. Still, I'm not going out and like that. So because I had a commitment to just agriculture to make this presentation, and because it was online, so it's fine. It was there.
Yes.
So Preeti,
Yes, sir.
so may I leave now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Beside your conditions, sir, you made the session worth
No,
listening, sir.
I'm so okay now, but
Yes, sir.
and now I'm happy to see Dr. Anjani Kumar. It's a long time that I have not seen him face to face. Now it is,
Yes.
though it's online, but face to face that is there.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Yes.
sir.
I'm also, sir, happy, very happy.
Sir,
कहाँ
on
है
the
आजकल?
behalf of
डॉक्टर अंजनी कुमार कहाँ है आजकल आप?
अभी जब हूँ तो फ्री में सर, अभी जम्मू में मेरा कॉन्फ्रेंस था ना, वही आप लोग नहीं आ पाए हैं, तो वही आज सेकेंड डे है, कल इनोग्रेशन.
So you are in India?
Yeah, I am.
अभी कुछ दिन पहले
I just came on 19th and then I traveled here in the evening.
Okay. So over to Preeti and over to Dr. Anjani Kumar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. So participants, moving to the last session of the FTP, but not the least, the next session we have with us Dr. Anjani Kumar, who is currently a senior research fellow at the International Food Policy Research Institute, South Asia Office, New Delhi. Sir received his PhD degree in 1999 and Masters in Dairy Economics from the National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, India. Before joining to IFPRI, he was principal scientist for agricultural economics at the International Crop Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, Hyderabad. Earlier, he has served as principal scientist at National Center for Agricultural Economics and Policy Research, New Delhi, and as senior agricultural economist at the Asia Office of International Livestock Research Institute, Nairobi. Sir has also worked as a consultant for many national and international institutions, including FAO and World Bank. He has made significant contributions to the agricultural economics and food and policy research. Sir has written about approximately 120 research papers in national and international research journals on various agricultural development issues. Sir has also contributed more than 70 papers or chapters to important books and proceedings. His contributions have been well recognized, and he is a fellow of the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences of India. Sir has won a number of awards from national and international organizations. To list a few, he was awarded the prestigious Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Award in 2017, Lal Bahadur Young Scientist Award in 2005, and NAS Young Scientist Award 2003. We are more than happy to have you here, sir. Without any further delay, I would invite sir to the podium. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Preeti, for a very kind introduction. And sorry I could not make it because our meeting got extended yesterday. Today also meeting is going on, but still I could manage somehow. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I will share some of my thoughts and how we can write a good policy paper or similarly research paper. And whenever you feel we can interact. And if can I share my slides?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please share, sir.
Okay. So, but it's not coming slides, sir.
Sir, it's been now given access. Please you try again.
Okay. Is it coming?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet, no. Yeah, that's why. Maybe I can. That yeah, now it will come. Let me just a minute.
It's visible, sir.
Is it coming now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible. Sir.
Okay, very good. So we have to do this slide. So okay. Okay, so why I I will focus one aspect, but similar things will be applicable for other. So I think for research, what is our objective? To document, to derive some policy message and communicate properly. So I will focus one aspect of one communication, that is policy paper. So my presentation will cover what we mean by policy paper, then what is the policy brief, how are they used, and how we can write an effective policy paper or policy brief. So the objective of any research is to translate into a knowledge product which can be communicated to the decision maker, communicated to the policy makers. And this translation of academic or research knowledge into policy solution is basically a kind of policy paper. And also some people have defined that a policy paper is a research piece focusing on a specific policy, for example, minimum support price or procurement price or employment policy or agricultural policy. So how that research will be converted into that, and what recommendations we can make based on the empirical analysis. That's the difference between journalistic article and the policy paper. And often we confuse that with historical analysis. If we analyze trends, patterns, determinants, and then we term it as a policy paper, which is not correct. So it's a little different. What are the policy messages we can derive from the sound, robust analysis? And also it is different from the opinion pieces. Opinion pieces I
Excuse
may
me,
have.
sir.
Is it okay?
Yeah, sir, actually your folder we can see where the policy paper presentation is there, but your presentation is not visible, sir.
It's
Like you have not,
okay.
it's not opened in presentation, sir.
Oh, okay, then maybe
So please
again,
try sharing again. Yeah.
yeah, I will again try to share. Okay, first I stop share and then share.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now is it coming?
Sir, it did not come yet, sir.
Okay, not coming. So should I send to you and then you can share from your end?
Yes, sir. If you have our teams, then you can share, sir. We can also share by our side. Hello, sir. Excuse me, sir.
सर मैं चैट बॉक्स में एक मेल आईडी ड्रॉप कर रहा हूँ, आप इस पे ना मेल कर दीजिए अपनी पीपीटी, हम शेयर कर देंगे. प्रीति, आई एम ऑडिबल?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm also
हाँ, या आप सर
Yeah.
को भेज दीजिए मेल आईडी.
Okay. सर मैं भेजती हूँ.
हाँ, मैंने चैट बॉक्स में ड्रॉप कर दिया.
Okay. I think सर ने मीटिंग लेफ्ट की है, दोबारा ज्वाइन कर रहे होंगे शायद.
प्रीति क्या बोल रहे सर? यू आर नॉट ऑडिबल.
हेलो
हाँ बोलो.
सर ज्वाइन करने की ट्राई कर रहे हैं सर.
अच्छा दोबारा ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं. पीपीटी भेज रहे हैं?
पीपीटी अभी तक तो नहीं भेजी है, बट अभी शायद ज्वाइन करेंगे तो
ओके
पूछ
ओके.
So I have sent the, did you get?
Yes sir, we are sharing by our side sir.
Okay, please. Yeah, it's coming. So you can go to next, 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 and next. Yeah. So how yeah, this slide. So what should be a component of what should be the components of a policy paper? So I think first of all, what is the context and what is the importance of the problem? Because if the context is not important, if problem is not important or significant enough, then it will not have traction, it will not attract attention, or there is no need even for writing policy papers if it does not fit into the current context, and also if it does not address a significant problem. And also that policy paper is not nothing, it's your short kind of thing, so it should describe a range of policy options so that policy makers will have a choice, will have a menu of options. And also it should describe that trade-offs, that if we go take this decision, the outcome may be like this. If we take this kind of policy, for example, trade policy, if we have if we will reduce custom tariff from this percent to that percent, this may be the implications. If we increase the custom duty, this may be the implications. And also that criteria, what are the criteria, whether it will be inclusive, whether it will be efficient, whether it will lead to sustainability. So those kind of criteria should also be provided for evaluating the policy options. Sometimes the objective is just to bring inclusiveness, sometimes objective is to bring more efficiency in any kind of program. So that criteria also should be mentioned for evaluating the policy options, and then ultimately it should go for policy recommendations. Next, please. And what is purpose of a policy paper? That is to convince the policy makers to change course on a specific policy issues. For example, you all know there are policy have been enacted in the parliament: farm reform measures, 3 policies, Essential Commodity Act and Contract Farming Act. But somehow we have not been able to communicate properly, or whatever may be misconception, or there may be genuine reason. So somehow we have failed to impart those policy options to enact. We have enacted, but we have failed to implement, and we had to withdraw. So purpose of writing a policy paper or the policy brief is to convince the policy makers to take some decisions which may be appropriate for a specific policy issues, and also share perceptions around the issue, bring the issue to policy makers' attention. For example, there was a lot of debate about KCC, there is a lot of debate about institutional credit. So whether these are important or not, through policy brief or through policy paper, we can bring those issues to the policy makers' attention and frame the issue for them. Their perceptions of the problem and solution also we should understand, we should absorb, and then provide text for their memos. Busy staffers, we all know policy makers or the busy people, decision makers, they are very busy and they may not go through the whole text. So avoid complex writing. Your message should be readable, it should be understandable, and so that people can grasp what you want to convey, they should understand. And we should write a kind of memo that they should be able to lift our words as much as possible and put into the file. So avoid complex writing. So they should not spend too much time to understand even the context or meaning or implications of the policy brief or policy paper. Go ahead, please. Next. And coming to the policy brief, because there is a little difference. Policy paper is a little more comprehensive. Policy brief is a very concise, 1-2 pager kind of things. So concise summary of a particular issue can be given in a policy brief. And also if the components will be similar. It will also have all those components, but in a very brief. It will not have that kind of analysis. It will not have that kind of detailed description of charts, figures, everything. And also it also contains the policy options and also recommendation on the best option. And the clientele again the same, who are the policy makers and others also who can formulate or influence policies. And the ideal situation for any policy brief is about 700 words, 1 page with some attractive design and photographs, which can attract the attention of the decision makers or policy makers. Next, please. Next. Hello. Yeah. So what should a policy brief contain? I think already discussed. It should be very short and to the point. But I always, during my whole lecture, I have been giving importance to the evidence, giving importance to the analysis, because whenever we recommend some policy actions, it should be based on firm evidence, not on just our own perceptions, and focus on meanings, not the methods. Don't devote too much time on the methods, but what implications, what meaning they are conveying, that should be communicated and relate to the big picture, big goal of the either country or the state or the region. It should be not micro issues. And also policy makers should take cognizance if it looks attractive and it appears interesting and is short and easy to read. As I mentioned, that they are busy people, they may not go through the complex writing, they may not go through the bigger writing. But if something is attractive, something looks interesting, because first of all you have to draw the attention so that once he or she will be attracted to something, then he or she can read your content. So the cover, the design, the style should be attractive enough to attract the attention of the or to invite the attention of the policymakers. Next, please. So when we do a structuring of that, so there are general structure that what will be the title, and title again, it should be very crisp, it should be attractive, not very big kind of title, and not I think it's a delicate balance that it should also convey some of the meanings of the what you are going to say, but it should not be lengthy, it should not be complex, but it should be attractive, catchy title. And then it should have summary, so that if somebody does not have time, he or she can take a glance and understand that what this report contains, what are the message this report or this paper or this brief is going to tell. And then it has to be succeeded or followed by the recommendations, and then introduction, and then body text, and then policy implications, and finally it has to be concluded. Additionally, it should contain some boxes, some sidebars, as I mentioned, that it should be based on firm evidence, be based on firm analysis. So those boxes and sidebars give the message that what it contains. Also, some of the cases can be given, tables, graphics, photographs, and series title, then authors, acknowledgements, publication details, and references. Because if we are lifting from, and this will vary from policy paper to policy brief, because policy brief one pager, so may not be having everything. And that is the kind of brief of the policy paper, in fact. Next, please. So how to proceed if we have decided? So to my mind, whenever we are planning to write a policy paper, or even it is applicable for research paper or writing any new beginners, we are early in the career, so we should always start with a question, not a topic, not research area, not kind of methodology, because methodology are the tools. They are the tools to be used to accomplish your objective. So first of all, we should have a question, and that question will define your topic. What is puzzling me? What is puzzling the region? What is puzzling the state? What is puzzling the sector? So first of all, we should identify a question, identify a kind of issue that needs to be addressed. So first of all, we should start with a question. Should not go that I will do in labor market, I will do on gender stream, I will do on technology. Not start with a question. If what is the question, what is the relevant question for the region, what is the relevant question for the particular sector, and that question will define the question, and the question will also define the research area that needs to be investigated to answer it. It needs integrated, and it's investigated to answer it, that what will be the probable answer of this question. And it will force the separate silos to collaborate, because one question, it may not be specific to a particular discipline. It's for example, in agriculture there may be many, so particular question can break the silos and induce people to collaborate. That will also lead to the team research, not the individualistic research. For example, any particular issue may involve the issues related to natural resource management, it may be plant breeding, it may be insect management, it may be technology adoption, it may also have components of nutrition, gender empowerment, labor markets, etc. So if we are not focusing on a topic, but we are focusing on a question, that question will define the topic, that question will also define the research area that needs to be investigated to answer that question, and also it will break the silos and induce people or motivate people to collaborate to find the solution of that particular question, and it will facilitate multidisciplinary research. Next, please. And then research method, we need description of conditions, changes and events, and of the any apparent impacts of any intervention. Then also we need to decide how much data, quantitative data we need, how much qualitative data, because everything cannot be quantified. So the combination of quantitative and qualitative data, and also a special qualitative and quantitative survey can be done to supplement our the hypothesis, to supplement our answers to the questions which we have fixed to be answered, and also the measurements, human soil nutrition, water table, etc., and descriptive analysis, and also quantitative analysis of the causal pathway. If something is there, whether there is a relationship, whether it is happening because of this or happening because of something else. So that kind of causal pathways also need to be established. Next, please. So questions to evaluate the relevance and priority of a research equation. So what will be the difference if the answer is yes or no? Suppose many things when we investigate, it's not that always we will get yes answer, we will get no answer. So for any policies or for any programs, if the answer is yes or no, so that these kind of questions will help to establish or evaluate the relevance or the priority of a question. When we I was just telling that start with a question, then we will see that whether this question is relevant or not, whether this question is a priority or not, and for all, for policies and programs, and also for understanding the human behavior. And then who will be interested in the answer, and when, who can provide the answer. If no interest or only temporary, drop that question. If there is no interest among the stakeholders, if there is no nobody is interested to answer that question, then there is no need to pursue that kind of question. So that if there is no interest, or if there is very temporary kind of interest, then drop that question. And then we need to also see, and that is the review of literature. Just in your last session, we are asking that how to write review article, or whether it is difficult. So whenever we start with a question to conduct a research and to convert that research into a policy paper or policy brief or any research output, so we need to investigate, we need to review that whether that question has already been answered at the international level, or in general term, or at the specific national, local, or institute mandate level. So what additional value we are going to bring in that particular question, if that has been online, need to see, review that whether that question has already been answered at the global level, or the in general terms, or whether in some countries this kind of particular question has been studied in local or institute level, and will our data permit to answer that question, whatever data is available, existing data, and then collection of data. If no, what additional data collection will be required to answer that question, and do we have the skills and capacity, because we also have to find our team. First of all, the existing team, whether they have the adequate skills, whether they have adequate capacity to address that question. If don't, whether we have to outsource or collaborate, partner with institutions which have those kind of capacity, who have those kind of skills. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah, and then policy is a kind of a very important driver. So you have research output or technology, and then it's in isolation, it will not be adopted or it may not be disseminated. For that facilitating factors, you need markets, you need infrastructure, you need institutions, and you need policy. So whenever we are converting that we have to highlight the role of these four wheels to promote or to communicate that message. Next, please. So, and also research and policy linkages. Research influences policy action in different ways. First of all, research can say that whether this policy actions, suppose PM Kisan was launched, Manrega was launched, or some reforms have been done, some policy changes maybe in the interest rate, monetary policy, fiscal policy, any kind of policy decisions might have taken. So the research will tell whether that action was appropriate or not. And also that will indicate that policy actions are needed to reduce risks or cost or to increase benefit. What kind of policy actions are needed? And also the research can show, if we do the ex-ante analysis, research can show in advance the probable outcomes of alternative policies, and then policy makers also they can send a signal to the policy makers to the major threats or developments as a kind of a consequence for that decision making process. But the relationship between research and policy is little complex and not linear. Sorry. So it's complex and not always linear, and it is interactive also. Please, next slide. Online, I mean. Yeah, next, please. And this link that the link between the policy and weak. There are several participation of the stakeholders in the process, and affect widespread participation of restricted regions for that, and then also different stakeholders operate, be gap in the resources, and also maybe issue with the communication, and there may be gap in text and anticipated effects. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. So continuing that, so that there is a dichotomy between research and decision making, because research is being conducted by someone else and decision is being taken by someone else, and therefore many a times there is no kind of coordination between them, and it may be because of several reasons. One is that it may be because of inappropriate or incomplete information, sometimes complicated or complex information, And also sometimes information is not available in time, and also there may be differences in the perceptions of the stakeholders involved, and also because of sometimes public opinion. They may have different kind of opinions, and so competence in research and communication leads to an important kind of things, and that should be needed outside the academic circle. And the state of the arts art research needs also the state of art lesson. It's not only the high quality research, but also high quality communication is needed. Next, please. Online. So, for example, in agriculture policy decision-making process, who are the stakeholders? First of all, there may be farm and research. It can be a research system as a whole, and then public sector functionaries, development departments, extension departments, then commercial enterprises, because input markets, output markets, all commercial players are there, and also the lot of civil society organizations who are engaged in both in finance, in marketing, in other kind of welfare measures, extension, and consumers, obviously consumers, and also development partners like FAO, World Bank. These kind of development organizations are also engaged. Next, please. And what could be the strategy to influence policy and development? So there should be a clarity, there should be clear kind of clear description of goals and objectives of the research or the questions, and then identification of the appropriate actors and then engagement of actors from the beginning, so that they will provide ownership, they will gain ownership. If we engage those actors from the very beginning, from the conceptualization of the problem to the implementation of the research, and also we need to establish linkages and partnership among actors, and we need to align human resources and skills, and then we should have a very kind of robust strategic communication and knowledge management. And lot of emphasis needs to be given on the capacity strengthening across the value chain, and also the advocacy, policy advocacy should be backed by evidence. It should not be just backed by our perceptions. It needs a solid, firm evidential support to back the advocacy of any policy. Next, please. So 3 R's are very important: right information in right form and at right time. Because if we are not able to give in time, just like if the patient does not get the medicine in time, it would be of no use. And therefore this right information in right form and right time, these are very critical. But is it so simple to deliver 3 R's? Not it is not simple, because consumers of research are not alike. There may be different stakeholders, and also there may be differences in their background, perspective, political thinking, political arena, and also conflicting objectives of policymakers. There are conflicts in the objectives of policymakers. Next, please. So right information should address the policy makers' concerns or provide meaningful direction and sustainable and with sustained inspection. Also, it should have a good understanding of the magnitude and dynamic problem. It should be honest. It should be taught based on evidence, and it should explain the causes and consequences of the problem. And right form, what we mean by right form, it should be simple, it should be condensed, it should be very clear, and secondly, presented. And we should avoid in policy brief or policy paper, we should avoid technical, economic, and statistical jargons, and indicate policy actions, outcomes, and what will be the time from short term, long term, medium term. And also right time recognizes public opinion, acceptance, social track, need to care of that socio-cultural issue, because until and unless we need that, it may backfire. And also existing and likely economic conditions and the political Next, please. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, next. Okay, so keep that. No, just before that. Go back. Yeah. So we must be aware that policymakers are usually jacks of all trades, but they are not experts, and they need your expertise. That's why they ask us to do research. So they may not be aware of the issue, but they say no problem. And know why are you there, not raising awareness, providing information. Discuss relevance and policy implications of your research. Keep it short and focused. Have some documents to half-page fact sheet with background and policy recommendations. Good design and graphics that convey the message. Less is more. I mentioned that there is a constraint on policymakers' time, and avoid distractions and follow up. Follow up means after submission also stay in touch, follow on actions, whether they have taken, share pertinent information on regular basis so that it can click. Next, please. Yeah, but as I mentioned, that working together is the key. Policy research or development is a continuous process, and contribution of research in influencing policy and development systems, and working in partnership and sustained engagement with the entire stream of stakeholders hold the key possible outcome. And exhaustive writing, sustained practice of writing, exhaustive reading, sorry, and sustained practice of writing, and focus on outlook, not that kind of cheap kind of this kind of those who are standing. So early career, lot of practice required, and also that you should focus the best possible outlets for your research. Next, please. I think that will be coming to you. So thank you very much. There is some disturbance here, but I will be happy to answer any question if somebody has. Yeah,
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time and efforts. It was extremely helpful and neatly discussed. So to all our participants, faculty members, and researchers who are in this field, it will be definitely worth attending this session. So thank you so much. Sir, there is one important question I would like to ask, sir. So you said the link will be weak in case of public opinion. There are some research, sir, which are based entirely on public opinion, sir. And if they are biased in any sense, sir, do you think it can influence our policy, and how we can improve these kind of research and policy?
Sometimes link is big because of public opinion that maybe for certain issues already public opinion are against or for. For example, take the case of GMO in this country. Already without knowing, without understanding the scientific content or scientific implications of the GM, there is a public opinion, hue and cry, and people are deadly against. So that I mentioned that kind of link when already public has made some opinion, it is very difficult, but we should try, and ultimately the government has now allowed this trial research. So for many years, and there is no scientific basis for opposing. There is not much empirical evidence to oppose those things. So this is what I mean by sometimes even public opinion weakens this link.
Yes, sir. So what do you think, sir, how we can improve if in these kind of research, sir? Like
Improving by exhaustive writing continuously, as I mentioned in the last point, the stay in touch, follow up on actions, always share the information, always share the evidence, always share the results. So ultimately, at some point of time, they may get convinced.
yes,
Because
sir.
this is the thing we can do, because based on our research, we should try to disseminate as much as possible.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you so much, sir. If we have more other questions, then sir, we will communicate you through email.
You can send an email to me. I can.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. We will share your email to our participants, sir. So with this, besides your busy schedule, you made 1 hour for us. So we are thank you so much. Just Agriculture is grateful to you, sir. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
So dear participants, in order to guide early career researchers, Just Agriculture has organized this program, which was a series of lectures from national and international experts. So our motto was to organize this program was to help our researchers in improving their knowledge about research and publications. Thanks to all the participants to participate in FDP.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to all the participants in FDP giving their feedbacks daily and making this program a success. Our sincere thanks to all the guests for taking their valuable time and support. We are grateful to our guests and we are grateful to our organizers also. A request to our participants that please do not leave the WhatsApp groups. Link of your certificates will be provided in the will be shared in the group itself. So with this, we would like to end up this program. Thank you so much and have a nice day.